It's Press Pass with Jack Ebling, Mid-Michigan's spirited sports debate. Now let's get talking sports. Here's Jack.
Not so good evening, Mid-Michigan and beyond, and welcome to Press Pass on Fox 47. What a difference a day makes. Last night's plan for this show was to gush about the Detroit Lions, the Michigan Wolverines, and yes, the Michigan State Spartans. Tonight, we'll still talk about their combined 5-0 start, but we'll spend a lot of time on MSU's latest sexual assault crisis, on the plan for longtime player and assistant coach Harlan Barnett to take over as interim head man with input from legend Mark D'Antonio, and on the dumbest play of Mel Tucker's career as he faces a 4th and 48 Hail Mary. Here to talk about all that and more is Team 519, 1 week before our 10th anniversary show, Sean Respert, the Big Ten's all-time leading scorer in conference play, the originator of the Spartans Smooch the Logo tradition, and co-host of Beyond the Three with Sean Respert on The Drive with Jack on the Spotlight Radio Network. Sean, how are you?
Back again. You know, we've done some good magic, and it's always a pleasure for me to be able to come back and just be around people I know that started this whole journey with me, and always appreciative, man, to get a chance to hook up with you, Jack.
Well, anytime that we can get you on one of our shows, we've just improved them. There's no question about that. And yesterday, you saw a lot of former players over at Breslin Center and then a football game. I bet you didn't think you were watching Mel Tucker at maybe his last game at Michigan State.
No, you know, it's unfortunate. I think we all have to humanize, you know, a lot of things that happen. It's always quick to, you know, point out people's errors and flaws. And
yeah.
And I mean, if that's the case, I wouldn't be standing in front of you now. I made a lot of mistakes myself. You know, the one thing I will make sure we all have to be accountable to. He's in a position as a leader to set examples. And hopefully that's what he uses this as an example for him to, you know, show other players in the past history, maybe some things that haven't been done correctly, how to give himself, you know, a new start, a fresh start. And I think it's what it's what our program has been built on. We don't walk around pretending like we're a program that hasn't made mistakes. Been a ton of them, but more importantly, we're the type of people that when mistakes are made, our character is tested, and we always pass those tests.
There you go. Well, we know about mistakes. Judd Heathcote called them out to us frequently. Also here tonight, making his Press Pass Sunday night debut, Jay Green, proud Flintstone, creator of SD4L and a Spartan dog in every way, and my last guest of the week every Friday on The Drive with Jack. How shocked were you late last night, Jay?
I was very shocked. I actually woke up this morning to a lot of calls and texts, and when I opened it up and saw what it was, I just really couldn't believe it. You know, it's kind of like, you know, waking up from a bad dream almost. Yeah. But, you know, like Sean said, it's kind of like it's the reality, you know, and we just have to get past it. I'm sure that, you know, it's really hard on his family and people around him to, you know, kind of deal with that. But, you know, us as Spartans are always dealing with adversity. So I think that he'll get by it. I think the school will get, you know, be fine. And moving forward, we have Harlan Barnett in place.
Yeah.
And I think we'll rally around him and still have a great season.
It might be a really bad dream if you are Mel Tucker's investment broker. We will be right back. And yeah, we're going to talk a ton about that, but we're going to start with the Detroit Lions 1-0. Welcome, Press Pass here on Fox 47. It's time for our Law of the Jungle segment, brought to you by Woody's Oasis on Trowbridge Road, your healthy alternative to fast food. Eat Woody's and live longer. Stop and see Chuck, Delita, and their terrific staff for the best in Mediterranean food. That's why I'm there every week.
Did we expect to win that game? Yeah. We did, and that's exactly what we did. Because we built that way, and everything we talked about was how it went down. We had to be patient, man. Offense, we go all the way down and score. Defense, we need a takeaway. We come out at halftime, we get a huge takeaway. I told you guys we're built for this. We can overcome anything as long as you guys just hang with it. We got a ton to clean up when we get back. But until then, enjoy this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm proud of you guys. Break it down.
Hey, remember this feeling that wasn't perfect. We stick together. We are built for this, boys. We are built for this. 2-0 next. Let's go. Win on 3. 1, 2, 3. Win!
A little expletive-laced celebration there, but I guess when you beat the defending Super Bowl champions, you are entitled. Dan Campbell says they're built for success. Jay, for more than 66 years, the Lions have been built for disappointment. What's the single biggest difference in 2023?
I think it started with that fake punt that he called inside their own 20 to kind of, show that he had confidence in his defense, whether they made it or not, but they actually made it and went down and scored. And I think that really gave them the momentum that they needed. I think you and I talked about it.
Right.
You kind of didn't think they had a chance, but I felt missing with Chris Jones and his favorite target missing. I didn't really think he could overcome that, which he didn't.
Sean, as a proud Detroiter, you've watched the Lions set themselves on fire. When did you think Thursday might be different?
I saw the way they started the game, and the one thing I say, the offensive line deserves way more credit. They certainly held they gave the time needed. They prevented, bad plays from, turning over into plays and scores for the other team. They just bought enough time. Like you said, I felt like Detroit's always been a team that's been plagued by just mysterious plays, and they didn't give up those weird plays and gave themselves a chance. Every play, every down, and you got to be proud of knowing that they just learned from a maturity level not to panic in a situation that most teams would panic playing in Kansas City.
Jay, you've caught a lot of footballs. How does a former first-round pick like Kadarius Toney drop 4 throws from Patrick Mahomes, including this one that Lions rookie Brian Branch picked off in return for a tying TD?
I think that is basically he's just not used to being in that situation. Again, I just talked about them missing Kelsey, and usually Kelsey is getting those balls and not Toney. So Toney being put in that situation, I think at that moment he just couldn't handle it, and I think it's probably something that he'll learn from in the future, and he'll have a different story to tell later on down the line.
Sean, MCDC, as Dan Campbell is now known, said he didn't learn anything about his team from the opener. He said a road win over the Chiefs was just a verification of what he already knew. Do you believe him?
Absolutely. As a coach, one thing you want your team and players to understand is your expectations may not match what everybody else's on the outside is. And you got to believe that once you put in the work, put in the time, the things that they prepared during the off season and during training camp, they've established a culture, and they have to continue to respond that their belief in their rules in the locker room and the way they approach the game, that's what's going to win the game. You practice the way you play, and it's just not to be surprised by this success that you had. You're expected that the way that you have brought it from day one is what you should do week in and week out and prepare that to be successful.
Jay, taking a look at the week 1 NFL scores through today's 4:00 games, which win impressed you?
Man, that's a good one. I would say Green Bay, because none of us knew
Green Bay was
what
good.
Green Bay was going to be.
Yeah.
And them going into Chicago and pulling out a win, I think was huge, especially with a new quarterback. When I think a lot of people felt like Chicago, along with Detroit, would be the leaders in the NFC North. So I think Green Bay going to Chicago was definitely a big win.
I love the 49ers going into Pittsburgh, Sean.
Oh, man, no. I'm a Steelers man. No. I didn't like that. Brock Purdy, though, of course, listen, he's proven that it wasn't a fluke. I have no issue with a pro that makes sure that he proves to everybody that whatever happened last year is going to be a new standard, coming in. Yeah. But my Steelers, man, I'm looking for more from this. It's week 1. We're not gonna panic. Steelers are gonna be back, and Mike Tomlin's always got his team,
Right.
hunt in the hunt. So I'm okay. I'm a little disappointed, but it ain't nothing that a little whiskey can make me feel a little better about.
Sean, switching breeds of cat. The Detroit Tigers had another 3-3 week. Why can't they find any consistency?
Baseball's a long season, and
Yeah.
and it's the one thing that unfortunately, when you get hot, you got to make sure you take advantage. You're gonna see these stints where sometimes you just can't put the bat on the ball, and you sometimes you can't feel the same way. I think the Tigers' biggest deal is they have to just take advantage when they finally get to hitting the ball well or feeling the ball well.
Yeah.
It's tough on the road getting wins.
Right.
But at the same time, at this time of year, you're playing two different teams. These teams that are getting ready for the
Yeah.
pennant race and getting ready for the playoffs are at a different gear. So when you go in and you got a chance to put a team away that probably isn't in that picture, you got to make sure you make that happen.
The Tigers only struggle in two places, guys, on the road and at home. Jay, looking at the AL cesspool division, Tigers record, still a long way to go to catch Minnesota. We'll be right back talking Michigan State.
At Graf Chevrolet.
Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. It's time for our Going Green segment, brought to you by Graf Chevrolet and Graf Nissan on West Grand River in Okemos. With 108 years in the automobile business, they'll take great care of you, as they have on all 8 of my leases and purchases. For new or used vehicles or great service, go green, go Graf.
Probably cost you a shutout. How important is ball security next week, and can you win if you're sloppy in that area?
Ball security is top security.
That was maybe the shortest answer to any question I have ever asked Mel Tucker, and it's the last one that I may have a chance to ask him as Michigan State's head football coach. Jay, you know Mel pretty well. What was he thinking to risk everything in the world, the worst decision he'll ever make for him, a potential loss of $77 million and a targeting penalty for his program in so many ways?
Well, I guess, you can say in that moment he wasn't really thinking, and he just really had a, lapse in judgment, as we all do sometimes. I feel like he's human, and those kind of things happen. It's unfortunate that it plays out in the public, and and I feel like the situation that she's in, as far as her title, has a lot to do with, why it's being looked at the way that it is, and understandably so. But as far as what he was thinking, I can't really say. I just hope that he can bounce back from this and, still lead a productive life. And you also have to think about his family and his kids who are going through this. So I'm sure it's really weighing on him. And again, I just wish him the best.
The she that Jay alluded to is Brenda Tracy, who formed a relationship of some sort. I guess the details are in dispute with Mel after she came in for sexual awareness lectures, presentations, and winds up with harassment allegations herself. Sean, you know a lot about leadership. What kind of leader puts everyone and everything around him at risk, except maybe one that's not thinking very clearly?
You scared me a little bit when you did the quick intro. I thought you were going to say, Sean, you know a little bit about sexual harassment. Like, whoa, hold on. No, I don't know nothing about that. Leadership is harder now because, with so many cameras and microphones and access to coaches and players, it makes it extremely difficult. Jay and I were in school at a time when, we had a chance to make some mistakes, and sometimes, thank God, that some of those mistakes, were not seen and not recorded and not. It's tough now. I don't have a lot of advice, but I will say, as a leader, as a coach, 17 years. The one thing I can allude to is that the more I open my mouth, the more I put myself in front of players, the more it put pressure on me to follow my words and set example. And to me, we should follow. Players are like human lie detectors. They for sure won't hold back. If they don't believe you anymore, they have no problem telling the world and letting the locker room know that they don't follow leadership in that locker room. If those players are still behind him,
Yeah.
we should follow their call and do that. Other than that, I mean, the rest of it is up to the administration and the decision makers to try to figure out how they're going to resolve this.
When you guys in the early 90s decided you were going to go get into some trouble, you never called me and said, "Hey, Jack, let's
No.
don't you hang around with us tonight?" I never got that message.
No, listen, you should thank us because we kept you out of trouble. That's for sure. For sure. What
I could get in enough on my own without your help.
you don't need help.
Jay, let's look at Tucker's tenure. 3 years and 2 games as MSU's head coach. If today's suspension leads to a termination, as most expected will, how will he be and how should he be remembered?
I think his tenure will be remembered as kind of like up and down. He started off with the COVID year, which is difficult as far as recruiting and trying to get guys on campus, which they couldn't do.
Right.
And he won 2 games that year, which expectations of next year weren't very high. And he wound up winning 11 games. And then coming off that, expectations are high again. And then he wound up winning 5 games. So it's kind of been up and down. Started off this year winning 2 games, which people felt like we should win, but we won in pretty good fashion. So I think expectations were kind of high for this year going into this big game against Washington. And, now it's kind of like what ifs. I think that's the main thing that people will always kind of ask, like, what if?
Yeah, I don't know if he will be remembered for the football components, or sometimes when you have a scandal, especially one that people are made fun of in their schools, it becomes a joke. That trumps everything else. Sean, I want to talk a little bit about this football team now after another lopsided win. And Nate Carter, we had some great video of Nate Carter that we're not going to have time to show, but he looked like a big time back yesterday. Spartans have had a boatload of great ones, but do you see resemblance to one of the greatest backs, certainly a Doak Walker Award winner from a couple years ago?
Man, I was so excited. Kenneth Walker was one of the best football players in the backfield I've seen in a long time in a Spartan green uniform. Nathan, what I liked about what I saw is that he just didn't mess around. A lot of backs sometimes play around in the backfield, play around trying to find a hole. He hit the holes hard. He turned the corners. You could tell he got even more physical in the red zone and down near the goal line. But the biggest impressive move I saw with him is his ability to make yardage after contact. And I just thought that was so impressive for a guy who just kind of understands that this team, it has some holes in the offensive end, but he's going to carry it early until those other guys that feel comfortable in the roles they have to play to stretch the field out for him.
Jay, you're the president of the Noah Kim fan club. After Noah et al. Through 15 straight completions, 15 in a row, is it ludicrous to compare his 2 game stats against the numbers for Michael Penix Jr. and J.J. McCarthy of Michigan and Caleb Williams? He had 3 games there. But, when you look at those guys and what they have done, Noah's numbers hold up pretty well.
No, and I've been telling you since the spring that I felt like he was capable of doing this, and I've never seen these numbers before. But just looking at it, I'm not surprised either. He really got on track. In his last game, he started off kind of slow against Central Michigan and finally got it together. But the fact that he's spreading it around, and I think in both games he's completed passes to like 8 different receivers, which I feel like is an advantage to us, and which kind of helps, his confidence and feeling like he can throw to any of the receivers. So I really like, where he's trending as far as, his completion percentage and being able to scramble outside of the pocket when he needs to.
Jay, as we look at the starts in MSU's last 3 championship seasons, why have this year's scores exceeded expectations for a team that was picked to win 4.5 games in Vegas?
I feel like it has to do with the Indiana game, because that's kind of like the last thing that people remember from last year. And it was from being up in that game and then having them come behind, and I think only completing 2 passes to win that game just kind of put a bad taste in fans' mouth. And which led to them only predicting us to win 4.5 games, which I thought was kind of crazy. But
Yeah.
I totally understand it. But I think that's where it came from, the bad taste from losing that Indiana game last year, and expectations really not being that high. So people seeing that we coming out scoring these points, and you know.
Well, you doubled 4.5. You went all the way up to 9, and
Exactly.
he was on helium, I think, there, Sean. But we'll see what happens against number 8 Washington. Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. It's time for our Take It to the Bank segment, brought to you by Dart Bank, dedicated to meeting the needs of our banking community for more than 90 years, with 4 convenient locations in Mason, Holton South Lansing, Grand Ledge, and the expanded Home Loan Center in Frandor. That's Dart Bank for what matters most.
Buddy. And pressures, he throws and completes it on the run. Roman Wilson down the sideline. Just like that, with 47 on one hand, he rifles it to his favorite target with the other, and a 47-yard touchdown.
Wolverines look like they actually won something yesterday. Jay, you've seen a lot of celebrations. What goes through your mind when you watch yesterday's high five-a-thon?
That they really wanted that win, you know, and they got it. They were very proud of it. You know, I really don't understand it, but it's not for me to understand.
I know they acted like they played against the UNLV Larry Johnson team instead of a football team.
Yeah, we know how that works. That's a good idea. Sean, the second of 3 Saturdays off, a little vacation in September, as a peace offering to the NCAA, Jim Harbaugh worked the chains at his son's game yesterday. Do you think he played by the rules this time?
You know, Coach Harbaugh, I don't know what it is. He's like a cat. He's got 9 lives. He just continues to survive. You know, it's always a good thing that sometimes when you get away, you have the right distractions. And under those circumstances, I think any coach who's been in it for a long time, you know, wants to always be supportive of his team. But obviously the next best thing is when you get an opportunity to be with your family, gives you, it allows you to understand that, you know, that there are other things important in life than just winning a football game or basketball game. And, you know, hopefully use this
break.
break.
Need him yesterday, Sean. And,
no, they didn't. They didn't need him, but for his sake, you know, it's sometimes things happen, and you look at it like that. These are three games that will allow him and his team to understand that they can win a ball game without having one of their best weapons around.
Jay, I know you were otherwise occupied yesterday at 3:30, but were you impressed by what the Wolverines did with co-interim head coaches? Something I've never seen before.
Well, they got the victory. I didn't watch any of the game, if that's what you're asking. So I was definitely preoccupied. They got the victory, and I think they 35-7, and I'm sure it could have been more if they wanted it to be more. But they got what they wanted, and it's just one step closer to their coach coming back, which seems to be the focus. You know, you see a lot of free Harbaugh shirts, so I think he got one more game to sit out, so then everybody will be happy.
Well, looking at what he makes, he isn't free. I know that much. J.J. McCarthy and Roman Wilson have already combined for 5 scores. Is there a chance they'll finish with more TDs than the Buckeyes' Kyle McCord and Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Well, that's hard to say because, you know, they still got the Big Ten season to go. Ohio State still has Notre Dame to play and the Big Ten season to go. So it'll be interesting to see which duo can actually have the most touchdowns. I know, you know, going into the season, Marvin Harrison is a preseason All-American and has high expectations. So you would think that he would be able to do that, but it'll be interesting to see, and we'll get to see, you know, the last game of the season as we always do.
Yeah, he might be the number 1 non-quarterback picked in the draft next year. Sean, looking at a Charmin-soft Michigan schedule, is this the year U of M wins an outright national title for the first time in 75 years.
You know, as we're going to talk about this, every year I think athletes are getting better, and a lot of these programs that are kind of mid majors and making their way up. A lot of times these are the most dangerous teams, and I don't ever put it past that. Every week that you get by, as Jay said, is one step closer. So hopefully for Michigan, they take 1 week at a time and see what they can do.
Yeah. We will be right back, and we're going to look at the national picture. Big win for Texas. Back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. It's time for the big picture, brought to you by Dean Transportation. Dean is hiring caring and dependable people as school bus drivers in many Michigan markets. Be a hero in your community and safely transport children to and from school with Dean. For more information and to apply, visit deantransportation.com/jobs. That's deantransportation.com/jobs.
Three. He'll roll. Delivers right into the hands of the Longhorn. Intercepted by Jared Thompson. His second mistake. He steps out inside the 10.
SEC ain't ready for us. Let's go. SEC ain't ready for us.
I think the SEC might be ready for Texas when they get there. The next time they play Alabama, I guarantee Nick Saban will be ready.
Man, look, every time I see that, this is an era that I thought you let the fans talk about you. You don't talk about yourself. What is going on now?
Texas hasn't won much lately. They don't know how to do it. Sean, the Crimson Tide got hooked by the Horns last night, Bryant-Denny Stadium. How surprising was that?
I can't say it was super surprised because parity is continuing to rise every year. And, I mean, you have to be ready literally now to play every week. You can't have a letdown. For me, Texas has continued to build a program. They've been consistent, lurking. And I think, again, a big early win like they had against Bama. I live in Houston. I know what the UT fans are like in Austin. And all I did was, they just added fuel to their fire because Texas is one of those teams you got to be careful. They are front runners. If they get up ahead, they make them feel good. They play a different game when they're up ahead.
Jay, when did you know Texas had it won? And did you like the appearance of the Longhorns fans?
I kind of knew right away because their offense just seemed to flow a little bit better than Alabama's. Alabama made some plays, but it was kind of like a surprise when they did. And Texas actually was, driving the ball down the field. So I think that was kind of the difference. And, I just had more confidence in Texas offense than I did Alabama's offense, which was kind of sporadic at times.
Jay, as we look at some of the streaks that just ended in this game, it's amazing all the things that Alabama had going. 57 consecutive wins versus non-conference opponents. 73 straight home wins when leading entering the fourth quarter. Did those numbers say more about Bama or about Texas?
I think they say more about Bama. For you to be able to sustain those kind of records, I think says a lot about your team. But you also have to give Texas credit for going in there and putting a stop to that. Which, playing at Alabama is not an easy thing to do, but I think they were also motivated by almost being able to get that win at home last year.
Almost. All right, Jay, as we look at the latest AP Top 25 released this afternoon, what jumps out to you?
Wow.
How
about 4 teams in the top 8 on Michigan State's schedule? Number 2, number 6, number 7, number 8. Spartans play them all.
And I'm still interested to see where number 6 and number 7 to be once we get to them. Of course, Washington, we play them this week, and they'll be right there. But I'm interested to see where Penn State and Ohio State will be down the line when we play them.
All right, Jay. As we look at the wins and covering the spread for all the Big Ten teams, all 14 of them, are you surprised that only 3 teams, Michigan State, Penn State, and Rutgers, get 4 thumbs up, check every box. They won both and covered in both.
Not really, because like Sean said, it's a lot of parity now. So you can't. Well, you used to be able to predict these teams, winning by big margin. Now you can't do that, and a lot of these smaller teams have, a lot of talented guys who got a lot of fight in them, and I think that's what's showing.
Yep.
Sean, let's take a look at the schedule for next week's games in the Big Ten. Which game there will tell us the most about this conference? Some pretty good matchups.
You know what? The first thing jumps out at me is the Minnesota at North Carolina. I mean, yeah, I will say I watched North Carolina early. They came out with a big win. Minnesota has always been a team that has established a presence, and I just I'm interested to see what that West Division in the Big Ten. We always talking about the Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, but I wonder again in that Western Division, what's the team that truly is going to start separating themselves? And that's a big game for Minnesota to start early with separating themselves from the rest of the pack in the West Division.
Watch Penn State. They get by Illinois on the road, and Illinois has been struggling so far. They might be just laying in the weeds, waiting to sting the Wolverines when they get to Happy Valley. And it could be one of those deals where each team beats one of the others, and you have a 3-way tie at 8-1 in the conference. That would not surprise me either. Okay, gentlemen, when we get back, we're going to talk basketball. We're going to talk about the reunion, grind week, and what went on yesterday over at Breslin Center and the game coming up next here on Press Pass. Welcome back to Press Pass here on Fox 47. It's time for our Lansing's Best segment, brought to you by the Greater Lansing Sports Authority. Bring thousands of athletes and teams to Mid-Michigan for dozens of tournaments and special events. Hats off to everyone at the GLSA for showing just what this area can be. I love that clip of the current Spartans embracing Xavier Tillman when he walked in and kind of surprised him. That's the kind of teammate he was when he was here as well. I think the Memphis Grizzlies are pretty glad to have him around too. And then to see all the players at Spartan Stadium and the great reaction they got, Jay, I think most of them were just cheering for Respert.
No, that's not right. That's not right.
Sean, it was terrific to see so many familiar faces at MSU basketball's grind week reunion.
Yeah.
Who were you happiest to see? Maybe someone you hadn't seen in a while.
I saw 2 people that I for sure remember when I first started looking at college basketball and really jumped off the page for me. And, these are guys that for sure set a different precedent when I started learning about Michigan State basketball. And I got a chance to sit and talk with Vernon Carr and Daryl Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, you talking about OGs, those guys should not be ever forgotten about for the things that they done with the program. And we had some bigger names, but our program doesn't exist without Vernon Carr and Daryl Johnson's contributions for what they done in their time wearing the jersey.
I know. I told DJ that he's going to be a guest with us at some point and Beyond the Three with Sean Respert. And he was so excited. It's like it was Christmas morning. It's amazing.
It's, and I'm sure Jay can, allude to it. Jay, when we get older, you just start to appreciate that even a few seconds that people give you that, remember some of the things that we've done. It goes a long way with us now.
Sean, what have been feeding Kalen Lucas? Watching him play, I thought he was the best player there.
I was not surprised. I'll just say this. Kalen has always had a game that was mature. He always had the way that he handled the ball, the way that he distributed, the way that you talk about Mateen's floor leadership style. Kalen's style is different because you could tell he has so much more to give. To me, the word that describes Kalen Lucas' game is he's timely. He understands when to assert himself and involve himself in the play and when to back out and let somebody else, decide to take the lead. But he looks like a wily veteran, and he looks like a guy that probably could still play the game for another 7 or 8 years, and still be a very productive player at the highest levels, whether it's in Europe or, again, I know it's dreaming, but hopefully somebody gives him one more shot, man, to come on back here and show what he could do. Yep.
Sean, when you have a gathering like this, who does it mean the most to? The stars who come back that everyone's waiting to see, or the guys you see in this picture? And I actually saw a couple guys crying yesterday.
I was probably one of them. In Amazing, look at how many guys, come back. My only knock on sometimes, when I look at the picture, I could envision Tom Izzo saying, "We got to give 110%. Let's go." I only think of, let's make sure we're smart about it. Part of having guys back is to make sure we accommodate all of our needs.
Yeah.
There are guys who are still playing, obviously. There are guys who just finished.
Right.
And there are guys like myself who've been done for a good minute. Make sure when we all come back that we're accommodated for things that we all need.
Yeah.
Some guys will need to come back and make sure that we network properly. Some guys need to come back, and just have a feel-good story, to be able to be loved a little bit. And some guys come back and just want to, see some old teammates and kind of, use it as a platform to say hello again. I want to make sure that when we're doing it, with more efficiency. I give Tom such credit for allowing this to happen, and allowing access to be had. But I want to make sure that we don't just accommodate one group. Make sure everybody that comes back can take something away from what this weekend, which was an incredible weekend, is continuing to grow and grow. And hopefully we just do more and more with this.
Yeah, it was great to see Max Christie there, too. He said he learned a lot from LeBron James. You probably had someone like that, Sean. We'll be right back with our weekly awards up next. Back to Press Pass on Fox 47. It's time for our Cool and Smooth segment, brought to you by 5 great Culver's locations in mid-Michigan: Okemos North and South, North Lansing, West Lansing, and DeWitt. Since 1984, Culver's has been delighting guests one meal at a time with scrumptious Butterburgers and premium frozen custard. Swing through any Culver's drive-thru and grab your fresh favorites. That's Culver's. Welcome to delicious.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2023 U.S. Open Women's Singles Champion, Coco Gauff.
Amazing.
Years old. 19.
Amazing.
I don't know if we have another Serena in the making, but she is pretty good, gentlemen. All right.
You go, girl.
Team 519. Who deserves a cool and smooth shout out this week? Sean Respert, what do you have for our play of the week?
You know what? I had a tie, but I think Coco got enough love. Coco, you keep making your daddy cry. That's all I would say. That would be an obvious play of the week. But my play of the week goes out to the Canadian national team, who won 3rd place. And the play that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander made to seal the game for them, winning 3rd place in the FIBA World Cup. He dropped Mikal Bridges. I thought he was genuflecting in front of a Catholic church, but unfortunately, it didn't bode well for us. But I'm a basketball player first. I give credit where credit is due. Congratulations, Canadian national team, for what you accomplished.
The U.S. lost to Germany, then Canada. Isn't quite as easy for Steve Kerr when he has this team instead of maybe some of the Warriors teams he had. Jay Green, what about our team of the week? What do you have?
I think the only obvious choice is the Detroit Lions.
Yes.
we kind of went into this season I feel like they had a lot of pressure on them because
Mm.
they had to prove that they're not the same old Lions, and they plan on the first game of the season on Thursday night in a hostile environment with probably one of the best quarterbacks ever, arguably.
Ever.
And for them to pull out that win under those circumstances, I got to give the Lions my team of the week.
All right, guys. I'm going to finish up with our players of the week. Got a few of them. We're going to blast them off here. What about this photo you see? And I'm with Fraser Hartnell and Tom Crawford. And this guy's 13 years old. Fraser Hartnell looks so bigger than that. But he won the National History Day competition by writing about Duffy Doherty and the Underground Railroad. You saw him out at Reno's. What an amazing guy, Jay. Fantastic.
No, he really was. And I actually saw him the next day at the Downtown Coaches Club, and the display that he put on for someone his age is truly amazing.
How about Brian Branch? We talk about the Lions.
Yes.
Here's a rookie. Wasn't a first-round pick, but he got that big interception. That was the play of the game. What a debut in the NFL. How about Texas coach Steve Sarkisian? He is the first Nick Saban disciple to come back and beat Saban in Tuscaloosa.
Wow.
And a lot of guys have tried, but he got it done. There's only 3 who have ever beaten Nick. And to go back and get your mentor like that. And how about Novak Djokovic beat Daniil Medvedev this afternoon for another U.S. Open championship, just adding to the total. For Sean Respert and Jay Green, Jack Ebling saying, have a great week, everyone.